All right, in this video I'm going over the comprehension questions for icebergs and glaciers. Number 1, use the details on page 561 to give a description of the way a single snowflake, or maybe I don't need to change it, way single snowflakes can eventually become glaciers. So of course we're going to open up our textbook, go to page 561. And just like yesterday, we're going to be looking for those signal words and then the description. Okay. So once the spinning flakes fall to the ground, and then it goes on to describe every step. So that's page 561, paragraph 2. But I want you to paraphrase, meaning don't just copy word for word what it says in the book. Read it and then put it in your own words. Okay, so once the spinning flakes fall to the ground, they begin to clump together. So snowflakes fall to the ground and begin to clump together. So I borrowed some of the words from the text, but I didn't copy it just strictly word for word, okay? So that's the first step, and then you go on. Then it says, soon the snowflakes become rounded grains of ice with tiny bubbles of air. The snowflakes become rounded with tiny bubbles of air trapped inside, something like that. So again, you're just you're paraphrasing it, putting it into your own words. Excuse me, but all that information can be found on page 561, paragraph 2. Okay, number 2, what are some of the factors that affect the way glaciers move and how are they related? Use evidence from the text to support your answer. I'm still having students on your reading tests and test review questions not doing this step, okay? So what are some of the factors that affect the way glaciers move and how are they related? So we want to go through the text and find where it's talking about the movement of glaciers. So it looks like on page 562, they have that diagram down below, and that's showing how glaciers move. So in the text, I have some key words here. In recent, on page 562, paragraph 3, it says, in recent years, scientists have found that glaciers move in 2 different ways. And then it says one way and describes one way that they move. Then in the 4th paragraph, it says the second way, and then it describes the second way they move. So what are some factors that cause them to move in that particular way? Well, in paragraph 3, it says one way is by sliding across the ground on a very thin film of water from melted ice. So one factor is temperature. If the glaciers start to melt, then they get a film of water at the bottom and the ice slides along that. Okay. The second way is called creep, and the factor that affects glaciers moving in the creep style is the weight of the glacier. The weight of the glacier makes the crystals of ice slowly form layers one on top of the other, and then the layers begin gliding or creeping over one another. So temperature, so if the glaciers are melting, that creates the water along the bottom. That's one factor, and that can cause the glaciers to move by sliding across the ground. And the second way is by the weight of the glacier. If it gets packed up too high, those ice crystals begin to slide down on top of each other. And again, that's on page 562, paragraph 3 and paragraph 4. Number 3, if you were a scientist, would you rather study how glaciers move or look for a method to get fresh water from icebergs? Explain your reasoning. So this one, it's just your opinion, one of the two, but then you have to give your reasoning behind it. Why would you want to do that? Okay, on to number 4. Why might there be a greater danger of coming across icebergs in the North Atlantic Ocean than in seas further south? Use information from the text. So, why would we have icebergs further north as opposed to further south? So, we can probably, and as a matter of fact, I know we can find that information in the text. So I'm just perusing, I'm going through the pages and I'm just looking for keywords, specifically icebergs. Okay, so it looks like they start to talk about icebergs on page 568. And let's see, they continue to talk about it on page 570. So we're continuing to look for details and information on page 570. Okay, so on page 570, if you look at paragraph 2, well, that's just glaciers. Let's see, then about 10,000. Let's see. Maybe they don't explicitly say it. Maybe we have to imply it. But that's okay. We can do that. We can make inferences. I'm going to pause the video, see if I can find it in the text, and come back. All right, I think I found some evidence for number 4. And I was actually heading in the wrong direction. So let's go back to page 560. And in paragraph 2, 3, and 4, it kind of talks about why you'd more likely come across an iceberg in northern regions, in particular the North Atlantic Ocean, than in seas further south. It says in the first sentence on paragraph 2, but some places are cold all year round. And then if we go down to paragraph 3, it says Antarctica is always covered by deep layers of ice and snow. So too are parts of Greenland, Canada, Alaska, and Iceland. Even when summer comes, ice and snow cover about 1/10 of Earth's land surface. So that's talking about Canada, Greenland, Alaska. Those are all places to the north, in the northern hemisphere. So you would be in greater danger of coming across an iceberg in the north because it is colder further north than it is compared to going further south. And because it's colder, you have a lot more glaciers and a lot more icebergs. Okay, number 5, reread Avalanche. That was a short story we read yesterday. Reread it or re-listen to it. Identify one way that a glacier might interact with snow to create an avalanche. So we go back to the short story Avalanche. And it starts off, you can find it right there, a huge chunk of ice the size of a school bus breaks off from a glacier. And then what happens? How does that glacier breaking off interact, or how does the snow potentially cause that glacier to break off and cause an avalanche? So again, it starts off right on page 556 in the first paragraph. That's where you're going to find the information you need to answer this question. All right, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.